Namaste. Hello everyone again and welcome to the fifth webinar, Rebuilding Tourism, a case study on Nepal. For today's discussion, we have 5 experts from both the academic world and industry. Let me introduce you to them. Our first speaker is Dr. Wendy Hillman from CKU University in Australia. Hello, Wendy. Welcome to our webinar. Please briefly introduce yourself to the audience.
Hello, my name is Wendy Hillman. One of my passions in research is Nepal, and I've been doing research in tourism since I was a master's student. I'm actually a sociologist, but my area of research is tourism, and my passion in tourism is Nepal.
Thank you, Wendy. And our second speaker is Mr. Deepak Raj Joshi from the Task Force Board, Project Hope Travel, and former CEO of Nepal Tourism Board. Hello, Deepak. Welcome to our webinar. Please briefly introduce yourself. Namaste.
Thank you. Namaste to you all. My name is Deepak Joshi, as Professor mentioned, and I was in tourism since, I'm in tourism since last 20 years and served at Nepal Tourism Board as a CEO since last 4 years. Very recently, my tenure is over. And then currently I am associated with one international project called Project Hope Travel, which is led by former General Secretary of UNWTO, Dr. Talib Rifai. Thank you, Professor.
Thank you. Thank you, Deepak. And our third speaker I would like to welcome, of course, is Abdullah Tuncer Kececi. He's the General Manager of the Turkish Airlines in Kathmandu. Welcome to our webinar. Would you please briefly introduce yourself to our audience?
Thank you, Eugenia. You pronounced the name almost correctly, Tuncer. Abdullah is easy, I know. So I'm the country manager for Turkish Airlines in Nepal. I'm in the travel industry maybe for the last 30 years from my university days onwards. So in last 4 years, I have been working for Nepal, and besides Turkish Airlines, Nepal is also my desire for tourism. So that's it for now. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Abdullah. Our fourth speaker is Mr. Bijay Amatya, the CEO at Cora Tours in Nepal. Hello. Good morning, Bijay. Namaste.
Namaste to everyone. I'm Bijay Amatya, CEO of Cora Tours. It's a destination management company in Nepal and involved in tourism for the last 40 years.
Thank you, Bijay. And of course, our fifth panelist is Mr. Samir Thapa. He's the chair and founder of the Silver Mountain School of Hotel Management in Nepal. Hello, Samir.
Hello, Yosina.
Welcome to our webinar. Please briefly introduce yourself to the audience.
Namaste. Thank you so much, everyone. This is Samir Thapa. I head the institution called Silver Mountain School of Hotel Management, which is the first private hospitality management institution in Nepal. I was a past president of Asia Pacific Council on Hotel and Restaurant and Institutional Education. I'm also serving in the board of Asian Ecotourism Network right now. And it's great to have you over here and welcome everyone. Thank you, Zina and Ian.
Oh, thank you, Samir. Very kind of you. Just a little reminder that at the end of the presentation, we'll do again the Q&A with our experts. If you would like to submit a question for the panelists, please use the Q&A button on your screen. We'll do again our best to answer as many questions as possible in the time provided. Okay, so we'll start with you, Wendy. Dr. Wendy Hillman will now open the discussion on rebuilding tourism in Nepal. Over to you, Wendy.
Thank you. sharing my screen with everybody and starting here. Okay, so as I said in the introduction, I'm a sociologist, and after talking to the other panel members, Eugenia and Ian and the other panel members yesterday, I changed around what I was going to do, and I'm actually going to present a more sociological take on what's happening in Nepal at the moment with the COVID-19, and maybe suggest some ideas. But anyway, have a look at the whole thing overall from maybe a sociological demographic type of overview. So because Nepal is in a place where there are a lot of earthquakes, there was a big one a very long time ago in the 30s, I might be wrong, and as we all know, there was one in 2015, and then an aftershock in the May after that, or in 2017 as well. So the tourism industry in Nepal was very instrumental in helping Nepal get back on its feet after the initial earthquake in 2015. Tourism sectors, enterprises, everyone collaborated to help make Nepal rise again from the rubble and contribute to implementing a tourism recovery. So since the 2015 earthquake, there has been a significant and demonstrated commitment to crisis management in tourism. And you might wonder why I'm talking about this in relation to COVID-19, but I'm trying to speak to the idea that Nepal is a resilient country and can, actually there was a saying, and I have it stuck to the back of my door in my office at work, and it was a sign that I got from, we had a vigil for the Nepali people down by the river near where I work, and it was, we will rise again. So that's really what I'm trying to talk about here, is that Nepal will really rise again after this downturn in tourism and other things. So Nepal has a demonstrated commitment to crisis management. The main lesson learned from the earthquake recovery was that tourism could diversify and offer different growth areas with people who were volunteering there in tourism, and also with accessible tourism linking risk with opportunity. The opportunities were reinforced through collaborative processes fostered by, according to David Bierman, who is a friend of mine and is an Australian working in Sydney in tourism, the Pacific Asia Tourism Association strategically positions the Nepali government and not-for-profit and commercial operators as central to the recovery operation after the 2015 earthquake. So what are so that was a bit of the background on how Nepal can be resilient after a crisis that affects all the country. So to do with structural issues now, just have to move that if I can, yeah. I'm just moving everybody to the other side of the screen because I couldn't see. So what is resilience? So it's a product of economic, social and political condition, and that will help with Nepal's stability after the pandemic crisis. Oh, someone's asked me a question. When do I think international tourists return to the pool? Okay, after 1 year. Someone just asked me, it popped up on the screen, a question. So disaster resilience, which I think a pandemic can be loosely classified as a disaster, is more about foreign donations and government collecting funds from other governments, in a sense. So rebuilding takes people power, but a lot of Nepali people are overseas doing remittance work and sending money back to the country, to their families. They get much better paid there. The conditions are quite terrible for them, I know that. And a number of people, many people have died. But at least 7% of the country's people are oh, that should be, there's a word, there's an letter missing, have left the country, and about 500,000 leave Nepal every year to work overseas. And some of them come to study too. We have Nepali students studying here in my town and in various places mostly along the East Coast, but a few in Perth as well. We have about 40 Nepali families in this country town where I live, so I know Nepali people quite well. So 7%, they're the official statistics, so there might be actual higher numbers of people who haven't registered or aren't available or didn't get the paperwork, or I don't know, could be anything, or just left without telling anyone. So the remittances account for about 25% of national GDP, and that speaks to the productive nature of Nepali workers and how much work power the country itself has lost. Oh. Okay, so from a demographic perspective, overpopulation strains urban infrastructure and suppresses individual economic opportunities. Families in rural localities, however, and it's been the same across the world, it's the same here in Australia, have more children because they need them to work on their farms. And it also provides them with a social safety net. There are children to look after aging parents, aging grandparents, and other children, newborn members of the family when the need arises. So from an economic perspective, promoting commerce and global linkages can accelerate growth and generate domestic employment opportunities. But Nepal's landlocked geography, questionable governance practices, the insurgencies, the Maoist War, People's War, and ambitious regional networks confuse the pursuit of economic effectiveness. So some cultural considerations surrounding the COVID-19 virus. So Nepal first did a country lockdown on the 24th of March, which stopped travel and community transfer of COVID-19. Hopefully, well, it did. The country, like many other countries, has never experienced a pandemic like COVID-19, and it has struggled with infrastructure to control and mitigate disease right across the country. The diagnostic capacities are limited, and it has been slow to conduct PCR screening. And as of the 25th of April, this was the most recent statistic I could find, there were 9,666 PCR tests conducted. So this suggests that the country perhaps should scale up the testing and have more resources at local, state and federal levels, as should every other country, really. Also, the government needs to implement contact tracing. We have an app for our phone here in Australia called COVID-19, not access, not COVID-19. Anyway, it's called COVID-19 something. I can get that to you later. I've just forgot, just slipped my mind for now, where you can actually download the app on your phone. And if someone you know or you contract COVID-19, you can actually, the government can trace that app and see who you've been in contact with and contact them. And everyone who's been in contact who may be at risk of developing the virus will know, so they can go into isolation. What's it called? I forget what it's called. I can't remember. Anyway, I'll let you know. Yeah. So thinking about integrating disaster and risk reduction. So COVID-19, while not a disaster, is still a very risky position, but is loosely a disaster. It's not an earthquake, but it's still a disaster in terms of, perhaps loss of population, certainly loss of income through tourism, and loss of tourist numbers coming to the country. So Nepal is vulnerable because of economic, social and political conditions in the country, because there aren't enough people coming into the country, there aren't enough people toing and froing in the country, there's no work to be done, no one's got work. And I'll talk about that a bit more at the end, because I did come across a really interesting thing yesterday that actually one of my friends sent me on Facebook, but a friend from Kathmandu. So there's also inadequate infrastructure. So people aren't able to cope with things. If there's nowhere to go and get tested, how can you get tested if you don't know? How can you ameliorate this position? How is the country going to survive? How long will it be before tourists come back? All these things are issues. So nations with healthy economies and socio-political environments are characteristically more robust. But that also speaks to Nepal having the insurgency and being quite divided and only really becoming a democracy in the fairly recent years. So the disaster should actually address Nepal's broader weaknesses, and it's a remaining challenge after the uprising and the other things I was talking about, and also the current political kind of standstill that's happened. So responses from Nepal to the COVID-19 outbreak. WHO warned that Nepal is at high risk of COVID-19. So far, it seems to be okay and seems to be quite good. And the objective to lessen the number of people becoming infected has led the government to react to the pandemic and control the spread. So although there's a critique about poor planning from the politicians and poor planning from people in general, the government is working to control the disease. And the Prime Minister, Oli, on the 20th of March, addressed the country about what to do and how to go about keeping safe from the virus. So there was the hygiene, washing hands, sanitizer, maintaining social distance, all the things that we've all been taught. And not to panic if you hear rumours or anything like that, just don't take any notice of them. Also, the high-level coordination committee chaired by the Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Defence decided to further lock down the country, and that came into place after India decided to do 21 days of initial lockdown. So, how has this had unintended consequences for tourism in Nepal? So, this year is Nepal 2020, Visit Nepal 2020. Well, unless something happens, there'll only be a few months left at the end of the year, or none of us will be going at all. There has been talk in Australia of perhaps Australians not travelling internationally until 2023, which is really awful. But it may be as soon as next year. No one knows. So the biggest disappointment for Visit Nepal 2020 has been the coronavirus outbreak. Nepal hoped to attract at least 350,000 Chinese visitors, but China closed the borders and temporarily suspended all outbound tours from China. Some people say, and I have referenced this, that Nepal has a bit of a image problem because of disasters to do with trekking and tourism. Apart from that, the country's gorgeous, the people are beautiful, and try and keep me away. Only COVID-19 virus can do that. So on January the 19th this year, 4 South Korean trekkers went missing in the Annapurna. They're all presumed to be dead after being in snowfall or an avalanche. And on the 21st of January, 8 Indian tourists suffocated after lighting a gas heater. It was a very common thing. I read about it before I even went to Nepal in 2010. The first time I ever went there, I read about that in the Lonely Planet book. So that's not a new thing. It's just that some people obviously don't know. So, but then again, some people still suggest that Visit Nepal 2020 can be salvaged, but there'd have to be a great influx, I think, before the end of the year, or perhaps they can carry it into 2021. So relying on the traditional markets of India and China has kind of, I think it's limited the tourism to Nepal in some ways. And I think other people, there should be more advertising internationally for other people to be involved in coming to Nepal and knowing that it is Visit Nepal 2020. But we all know because we're all connected to Nepal in one way or another, but many other international people would not know Visit Nepal 2020. So what can Nepal do to rebuild? So worldwide tourism has evolved over the decades as one of the fastest growing industries with links to other sectors. Like, it's not just going for a holiday, it's the airlines, the buses, all the transport, all the infrastructure, the hotels, the guides, the homestays, all those things that are involved. So it is quite a big force within the global economy. Within the Visit Nepal 2020, there is a high level of local, provincial, national, and international enthusiasm for the tourism promotion in Nepal. But there are a number of challenges that need to be overcome. So there should be some efforts by government to ensure that tourism activities are carried out responsibly and meet economic, social, and environmental objectives. Government, industry, and destination communities and other stakeholders should engage in setting priorities, implementing a long-term and sustainable vision for the tourism sector, not just, oh, we're working up to having Visit Nepal 2020. They did have the Year of Tourism in Nepal 2011, and then I really didn't hear much about it when I was going to Nepal until last year when I was there, and then it was Visit Nepal 2020. It wasn't kind of a concerted effort to actually build on the 2011, well, not from where I stand anyway. Perhaps it was in Nepal, but to me, where I stand, it kind of wasn't. It was just, they were separate things. And promoting tourism is the responsibility of everyone. So the public sector and businesses, and informing all of society. Like, you want people to come to Nepal, you've got friends from overseas, encourage them to come, get them to go there. No one will regret it. So some of the steps to some of the steps to prevention and to recovery after the coronavirus would be preventing the spread of COVID-19, obviously, monitoring teams. There's health desks at Kathmandu, Lumbini, Chitwan, Pokhara, Hirawa and Ilam. There's a 24-hour operating health desk at Tribhuvan Airport. People are being tested, and anyone with a fever above 100 degrees Fahrenheit is referred to Sakraraj Infectious Diseases Hospital. So the focus needs to be directed on improving awareness among travellers about the warning signs of COVID-19 and the subsequent process to follow once you are aware of those things. People keep saying, go and get tested, go and get tested. But if you don't know where your local testing station is, what's the point of going out to get tested? If you're sick, you're only going to spread it more. So other considerations for the tourism sector in Nepal. These are my beautiful friends who have owned the two Tibetan people, the two people on the step, the man with the grey hair and the lady in the long orange kurta. They're my friends in their hotel in Nepal. They're Tibetan. They live in Nepal. They've lived in Nepal for many years. They posted this on Facebook the other day, and it's about how the local daily wage workers and the street vendors are not able to have it. There's no way they can get an income because there aren't any tourists. So they've joined in together with some other people. The man at the bottom of the steps on the right, he's a local business owner there as well as my two friends. And they're obviously looking after people and giving them food parcels. The hotel my friends own also has a very famous restaurant. And I can actually tell you that if you go and eat there when you're in Kathmandu, you won't get sick, which is quite good. Anyway, it was just another consideration I thought that was interesting, because I think we forget about those people who work in the tourism industry at that really grassroots level. And if you're paid by the day or you're a street hawker, where are you going to get income from if there's no one there? So I think this is the final slide, apart from the references. The COVID-19 pandemic is a warning. So Nepal's healthcare system needs to improve its capacity to deal with this. As a landlocked country, one of the only means of income is tourism. So Nepal really can't close its borders for that long, or keep the airport closed, because Nepali people working overseas can't get home and tourists can't get in. There needs to be adequate funding for the health sector. And when it's all said and done, health is really everything, because if the people of the country have their health, they can be healthy, they can work in the tourism industry, or they can, even if it's selling goods, selling cottage industry products, having a room in their house for homestay, any of those things, showing tourists around the local area, or being a guide, showing tourists further afield and being a guide as well. But I think if the health of the country is good, I think then the tourism will then also follow. I think that will come. That will come after the country's safe with the tourism, after the COVID-19, the tourism will go. I can't wait to get back, and I know Eugenia and Ian can't wait to get back either. So they're my references, and that's my presentation.
Thank you, Wendy. That was a fantastic contribution to today's webinar. Very interesting to hear also your sociological perspective on Nepal. Yeah, that is really great. Thank you. I'm sure there will be many questions for you at the end of the presentations. So we are moving now to our second presenter, Mr. Deepak Raj Joshi. Over to you, Deepak.
Thank you, Professor. First, let me use the minute to fix my presentation here. Yeah, am I visible?
That's lovely. Thank you. We can see it now. Yeah.
Thank you. First of all, thank you, Professor Eugenia, for choosing Nepal to present as a case study at this time, especially how COVID or COVID-19 is impacting in our tourism. Overall scenario is already presented by Dr. Wendy Hillman. And in my presentation, I will present slightly what is the condition in tourism sector, how tourism is moving ahead, and what kind of preparations Nepal is doing. In that line, I'll present something here. Sorry. Just before COVID-19, in 2019, Nepal received 1.2 million international visitors. Length of stay of the visitors was 12 days. As per World Travel and Tourism Council, normally tourism sector contributes around 8% in our GDP. Tourism sector in Nepal had created 1.1 million jobs in tourism sector. And not only that, tourism is one of the major performer for foreign exchange earning and in investment also. This is one of the sector which was largely receiving foreign investment. As mentioned earlier, the Visit Nepal campaign 2020 had created a high hope for Nepal's tourism industry. The target of 2020 campaign was 2 million to receive international visitors. The top 5 source markets for Nepal is India, China, USA is the third largest source market, Sri Lanka and UK. Roughly around 35 to 40% visitors are from the South Asia and then the regional markets. And roughly around 40% visitors do visit from European countries. Nepal was connected by around 28 international airlines, 40 international destinations from 17 countries. And at the same time, the Nepal was also constructing its 2 new international airport, which is at this time of lockdown also, the construction work is going on. I mean, the maintenance and the beautification of Tirubhuvan International Airport in Kathmandu and the construction of another new airport in Lumbini, near the birthplace of Lord Buddha, and one airport in Pokhara. So that is still going on. And the good thing is at this time, the infrastructure side, our roads, the maintenance of roads and the blacktop work is going on at this time also. And then which was the biggest concern, one of the biggest concern of tourism industry. And Nepal is becoming more beautiful utilizing this lockdown time. That is one thing. And in the service side, around 129 star hotels Nepal has, nearly 1,200 tourist standard hotels, 3,000 plus travel agencies who are serving tourists, 2,500 plus trekking agencies. Similarly, 77 companies of travel and transportation services, 73 rafting agencies, 325 homestays. These numbers are the numbers which were registered at Department of Tourism till last year. Similarly, 4,000 plus tour guides, 16,000 plus trekking guides, 300 plus river guides were in the service, and we can imagine how COVID is impacting these all service providers. While talking about the growth rate, first we had a mega campaign positioning Nepal in 1998. We call it Visit Nepal 98. After that, the tourism was slowly picking up. The number was 500,000. And then again, Nepal went through a different kind of crisis, sometimes political instability, movements, insurgency, sometimes the natural disasters like earthquake. Especially after earthquake, Nepal was, growing very rapidly in terms of arrival in number. Every year after 2015 earthquake, nearly till 2019, our average growth rate was 22.8%. But suddenly after this corona pandemic, we have estimated that it will go down to 60 to 70% for this 2020. Regarding the COVID-19 impact, the first case of COVID-19 was seen in Nepal in January, and the February was roughly a gap month, and then again in March, slowly in April, slowly it is picking up. Total case till now, till today, is 258. 36 are recovered. Death is 0. And then another thing is, I have to mention, Nepal is one of the one of the 35 countries in the world which has 0 death record. And then one of the 10 countries in Southeast Asia which has 0 death record. And mostly this is the map of Nepal. We have 77 districts. Out of 77 districts, roughly around 20 districts have that kind of impact. I mean, the cases are seen, and mostly the districts or the areas are close to the border of India, because we had open border, but now it is completely locked down. And then we are hoping that in a few days of time, Nepal will be able to control this spread of virus. And during the lockdown after COVID-19, immediately after the case, Nepal Tourism Board, there is crisis response unit was activated very effectively. Very soon, Nepal launched one small initiative, a kind of campaign called Standard in Nepal, and nearly so far 5,000 plus tourists are repatriated already to their respective countries. Not only that, at the time of lockdown, we had roughly around 8,000 plus international visitors in Nepal. There are still 2,000 plus international visitors staying in Nepal, choosing to stay in Nepal, thinking that Nepal is safer to stay. At the same time, the objective of this initiative was to help settling the tourists to their respective countries and to communicate to the visitors and to the industry. Similarly, the Nepal Now campaign is also, we are reactivating. This was one of the most effective campaign during earthquake we had learned. And basically this campaign is, this platform is created to share the stories and communication, the real facts. And similarly, the industry and the whole tourism sector is going through a kind of Dream Now Travel Later campaign through the visuals and videos and photographs. And very recently, the government is active in designing safety and hygiene protocol. Regarding the travel restrictions, first time in March 5, Nepal banned the on-arrival or the flights from 5 countries. The hot spots, the non-hot spots then, for example, China, Japan, Korea, Iran type of countries. Then on March 11, all on-arrival visas were banned. And then March 20, all the passengers, including Nepali, were banned to come to Nepal. And then the immigration, they have announced or notice saying that the visitors who have received visa till March 21, the visa will be extended without extra fee or penalties. And in March 25, Nepal announced national lockdown, nationwide lockdown, and which is till now. Regarding the recovery strategy, we are thinking to have 2020 as a year of survive, 2021 as a year of revival, and 2020 to thrive and going as a bounce back. And then survival of the industry, the Ministry of Culture, Tourism and Civil Aviation, institutions like Tourism Board, Civil Aviation Authority, tourism associations like hotel, chan, trekking, these all associations are together. And the government has given some incentives, and in 2 weeks of time, we are announcing our new fiscal year program, which is our new fiscal year starts from mid-July. And the new tranche of stimulus packages is expected to be announced very soon, and few are already announced. In recovery, the strategy is to go in a phase-wise basis, and first priority is safety and hygiene protocol guidelines. The draft is already made. The feedback is already received from the industry. The only final touch-up is going on. Yesterday only there was one meeting at the ministry in the same line, and after this hygiene protocols, Nepal is also gearing up for massive training and orientation to how to deal, how to behave, how to have precaution after this or during this corona. And a strong monitoring mechanism is also being built, representing government, private sector representatives together with tourist police. And stimulus food packages I already mentioned. And then thinking that the after corona there will be new context, government has also announced kind of encouragement packages for innovation, startup type of thing. Yesterday only one notice has come up from Nepal Rashtra Bank also. To move forward, we have identified few markets and segments. Since after every crisis, these are the 4 segments, these are the 4 markets which helps us to recover quite well. And then in the same line, we have identified a domestic market, regional market, short-haul markets, and long-haul market in a priority-wise. And then the segment-wise, obviously the domestic market is going to get first priority. And then the niche segment, because the travelers of niche segment have always a very strong desire to visit the destination that they love the most. Similarly, we believe that the climbers, trekkers, rafters, bird watchers type of visitors will definitely choose Nepal when the corona will come into the control. And similarly, business and corporate segment is also a very resilient segment, which and for this segment there is a kind of compulsion to travel. So we are hoping that this segment will also revive. And then the pilgrimage segment, especially for Buddhist and Hindu segment, Nepal is a very, very strong destination. So we are hoping that these segments will help us to revive faster, quicker. And then we are quite hopeful that Nepal will bounce back better, because after the corona, most of the visitors, they are looking for nature-based destination. A few weeks back in a webinar, the PATA had one survey asking what kind of destination you will choose after corona. The surprisingly 90% plus respondents had chosen a nature-based destination. And Nepal has always a very the unique positioning in this line. One of the most resilient country Nepal is. Very recently, Dr. Wendy also mentioned, especially after earthquake, we recovered quite fast. And hygienic food habit people will look for. And Nepal is the destination which the food of Nepal is always considered as very hygienic. And the industry of Nepal is very, very experienced and efficient, having 60 plus of experience in handling tourism and seeing all ups and downs and coping with all these environment. These are the things that has made us very hopeful. And then the actions Nepal is going with is safety protocols, destination standardization and upgradation, more collaboration, incentives to the traveler, the visitors, and plus the players of the industry, minimizing the cost factor. This is one of the very important thing, not for only Nepal, for many destinations, because especially after the corona, the destinations and the transportations looks like will be costlier. And then at the same time, the ability to spend for the visitors will be also a kind of difficult. So this is the point we have to think very seriously. And then the effective promotion. Obviously, we have to cope with new normal. We all know that we have observed the name like Zoom or webinar, how they have become a generic household names now. So we have to be ready for new normal and acknowledging that, adopting that, and accelerating with these. So Nepal is ready, and we have already acknowledged there will be a kind of the new situation which we have to adapt, and we have to get up to accelerate. This is all my presentation, very brief presentation. Thank you. Stay safe, and at the same time, I would like to extend a prayer from Nepal, pray for the world. See you soon again. Thank you.
Thank you, Deepak. Very interesting contribution. And I can see you've got similarities with the previous speaker, Wendy, about resilience in Nepal, the resilient people. And also you spoke about a new normal, which was, again, very interesting. So our third presenter now is Mr. Abdullah Tuncer Kececi.
Yeah.
I hope I pronounced it right this time.
First part, yes. Second part, we
Over
can
to you,
discuss.
Abdullah.
Yeah. So thank you again. Yeah, I'll do something different than the other speakers. Let me don't do a presentation because numbers, everything, everybody checks from everywhere, and already my friends share that. So I'll just try to say some words about aviation. How is the aviation? How will be the aviation after Corona? And also definitely something about Nepal, because at the same time I'm PATA executive board member, PATA Nepal executive board member. So definitely tourism, as I said in the beginning, tourism is my desire for Nepal also. So nice to see you again. So first of all, as you know, I mean, airlines are the most hit sector, first hit sector in this Corona issues. But definitely in long run, I think tourism will be the most hit sector because to recover from this condition is not easy. But airlines were the first ones hit because they had to stop their flights. All of a sudden, there were many cancellations, restrictions for flights. So airlines were the first hit ones. For Nepal also, we had the same issue. As Turkish Airlines, we stopped our flights to Nepal at 21st of March after government decided not to take any passenger inside. At 21st of March, we stopped our flights also. That was our last flight. And after that also, because at those days, our expectation was a complete lockdown for everywhere. We were expecting at least around 3 weeks for everywhere. And the expectation was even more. And we see that now almost for the last 2 months, everywhere is under lockdown. So hope we will recover soon. And definitely, I wish Nepal can recover soon also at this situation, because for now, we don't see the real figures since there is lockdown. So that is one of the scenarios. How will be the aviation? Let me say about that. For us, we stopped flights all around the world. Around 25th of March, I think we stopped all around the world. And till 28th of May, it is there is no flight. We just do rescue kind of flights from countries. Mostly only Turkish citizens can come with that flight. We are doing those rescue flights, and with that also rescue flights, I think more than 60,000-70,000 in 2 months has come back to Turkey. Most of them are students in the other countries. People who are working also in other countries, they prefer to stay in their place for now. So this is the situation. Why did we stop the flights? Because health issue became very important now. As you know, tourism industry, I always say that all of us are industry friends. Let's say for me, a hotelier is also in my area. Let's say school for hospitality is also important for me. I always say that even a restaurant is important in Nepal. Even a toilet in a restaurant is important. The cleaning of a taxi is important. So we have to understand that one of our problems, or one of the problems in any of these areas, are problem for all of us. And the solution must be done by all of us. Let's say also my fuel price must be concern for everyone also. But for me also, if I go to taxi and there is no standard, quality standard in that taxi, I definitely feel as a tourist, there is a kind of gap in the industry. So
Sorry,
for
Abdullah, may I just interrupt you for a second? Could you please check your microphone, because there's a background noise in the back.
background noise, okay. Is it?
Yes, that's fine now.
Yeah, let me hear. Maybe because of the, yeah. Okay, how is it now?
There's still a bit of a noise.
Let me double check. Maybe something from outside, maybe, because there may be some constructions, but inside out, I'm okay.
Okay.
let me try to make it near, maybe it
Yes,
will be easier.
that's much better. Yes, I think.
Okay, let me keep it like this. So how will we start? We are as airlines, we are planning to start after 28th of May. It will start with domestic. So, but in June also we have a plan to start the international flights. And international flights, now there's a number announced, but all the numbers announced are for now announced numbers. I have to say that because unfortunately, earlier there was a destination. You have an aircraft, you fly people from one destination to other. Story was like that. But now the restrictions of the countries, the decisions taken by their, let's say, even health ministries, immigration authorities became more important. If you want to go to a destination, now one of the first things, that destination should accept you. Secondly, your own country should allow you to travel. And in all these areas, there should be health standards must be maximized because everybody wants to minimize the risk of corona with them. I don't want to say this as new normal because when you use the word normal, it doesn't make me happy, honestly. So I want to say that this is a post-corona with corona phase. So after corona started, how we are challenging with corona issues. So instead of new normal, I prefer to use this wording. So we'll start for international flights also. Of course, definitely we are checking with the countries which are allowing the flights to come. What will be the conditions there also, because you have to convince people with all the details. For example, there were some research which was done, and most of the people, out of 100 people, 61 of them said that, I mean, it's done with more people, with thousands, but 61% of that said that the security check part is the most risky part for them in their air travel. Security check inside the airports. So they don't know how that area will be managed. So luggage area is one of them also. Let's say flight check-in areas also one of them. So definitely inside the aircraft is one of them, how the air circulation will be there and other things. But what I realize is inside the aircraft part, I think people are, at least there were already high standards at that area. They think that the airlines will only fly if there are enough precautions. So they are more convinced on that part, as I can see. But the point is now, earlier maybe you were just going to destination, but now from the taxi you have from your house to airport, all the check-in areas, when you reach there, when you fly there, after you land, the airport authorities welcoming you, the countries, measurements and other things. When you reach the hotel, how they manage the hotel. I mean, all the details became much more important now. And I think for the tourism sector, now we added for our industry, now health sector is also inside the tourism industry more. Because when you go to a destination, definitely all these checks will be important. When you go there, it will be important. And if you have any kind of, let's say, disease there, what will happen there also becomes important. So we have to highlight all these points. So when we are making our business plans, definitely we have to think all about that. For us also, if we are flying to a destination and that destination is not convincing us with the health checks they do, then it means that we can take some unhealthy people to our aircraft. So definitely airlines will also look into these kinds of standards. So, and these standards should be for all of us. Looks like it is like that from now on. I mean, as I said, not the new normal, but post-corona with corona status will be like this. So our plan to start the flights, just I will give you June numbers because I don't want to talk very certain words. Now, looks like, as you know, we were flying to most of the countries in the world, and it was 126 countries for Turkish Airlines with more than 300 destinations, 318, 19 destinations at the last number. For June, our plan is to start with 19 countries only, 19 countries. This is announced numbers, but they said that even our, let's say, CEO says that, CEO and board chairman for the board says that these are the numbers for today because we don't know what is going to happen. Unfortunately, this is a very unpredictable scenario for everyone. So I think this is a little bit different than resilience, because resilience, if something hits you and you try to survive, that is okay. But here, everybody is hit. So nobody knows how we don't know who is more resilient now, honestly. So unfortunately, everybody is it. So it is starting with 19 countries, around 22 destinations, and just in total 75 flights a week for international. 75 flights a week. So which was like thousands before, more than thousands before, thousands before. So it will start by step by step. As Mr. Raj Joshi also mentioned, of course, definitely we are waiting first domestic travel to be there. Definitely then after that, slowly short haul flights will be there, and long haul will be maybe, will be increasing later. But here the main thing is how people feel comfortable to do when they go to a destination during all day travel. For airline industry, there are some discussions like next seat empty kind of options, or wearing mask, wearing shelter, all the flights. Looks like, especially in domestic flights, wearing mask and wearing shelter will be mandatory for a while. We see that. And that's why definitely first short haul flights will start. So secondly, next seat empty issue was discussed, but I think Ayata also mentioned about that. So that will increase the costs very, very high. And if all the safety precautions are taken and you add that next seat empty, it means that you cannot carry passengers. Around 50 to 35% of the aircraft has to be empty then. And looks like with the basic calculation, what everybody did, this will increase the cost per person flight around 54%. So looks like this is not a solution. So, but definitely precautions will be taken. People are that's why everybody is making some risk analysis. That's why we stopped our flights and we are not doing any flights for now to check all the risk analysis and everything, because when you start to fly, you have to fly people with a great comfort. That is what, especially in tourism sector, what I realized is people wants to be comfortable at every level of their travel. So that's why airlines making decisions, taking precautions is taking a little bit more time, because people has to be safe both ways. So, and you should not spread the virus also from one place to other. So that's why they are very worried and trying to find solutions, but definitely it will start, because as I can see also the people nature, I can see that everybody has a desire for tourism. As I know, more than 60% of people are willing to travel as soon as they feel that the way they travel becomes comfortable. So at this point, airlines will become very important also. And definitely the cost point in the countries will become important, because since we will start slowly, let's say step by step, definitely one of the critical things will be the cost issue. And since we are all friends of Nepal here, let's discuss a little bit more in detail. I will touch to some points. I will not go very deep. First of all, we should, okay, we know that tourism will be reshaped again for a while at least. Till everything comes back to normal, there is a reshaping of industry. So why don't we see this as an opportunity? Let me come to my Pata umbrella now. Why don't we see this as an opportunity? I think that is a little bit missing. We know the number of guides and everything, but it is already 2 months. So what are we doing to educate them at this period? I think a little bit, because numbers, facts, everything is everywhere, as you know. So what are we planning for the future part is a little bit missing. So yeah, a little bit missing. What I see is what Nepal did for standard tourists was very great, honestly. It should, I appreciate what they did. That was a great effort. Even it was not totally their job, but they did very great job. Thanks for that. Definitely, it gave a very positive image for Nepal. Nepal is always friendly and always welcoming the people. But for the future, what are we planning? For example, I will ask Samir Thapa maybe at the end, but before he speaks, let me ask him. So what are we planning to change in our training? Because some standards has to be established in Nepal. Something was missing. We know that we were in Visit Nepal year 2020. 2020 was like that. But our main expectation for me and me kind of people was the improvement of the quality of services with that target. We were not focused on the number, because it's not tourism is not 1 year issue. I don't want to say it's a decade issue. That word is misunderstood, I guess. But the main thing is tourism has to have the sustainability to move forward. So what are we doing for that? So when everything reshapes, and when we all know that now natural kind of, which we discussed with Mr. Joshi earlier, natural destinations will become more important now. And what are we planning for reshaping that? As you know, we were having seasonality in Nepal because everybody was focused on mountains only. So are we planning something to change that seasonality with our nature? What are we adding to our nature product? Nature is there, it is God given. But what are we adding to that product? How will we show the nature to people in a safe way? So honestly, for Nepal, I don't say that this is an opportunity time. Unfortunately, people are dying, and I also we are all sorry for that. Definitely, wish these kinds of things never happen. But we should use this. If we look from the industry point of view, we should use this as an opportunity to move forward, to increase the quality. Let's say, what are we doing? What are we planning for the taxis in Nepal? Just a quick question. What are we planning about the toilets of restaurants in Nepal? What are we planning for our tour guides at this period of time? So how are we training them? And also for the airport side, how are we improving the services? Okay, distancing, I saw in domestic airports, I saw some pictures. I'm in Istanbul, I have said that. But what are we planning for our overcrowded areas in the airport? So these kinds of things, at least if we can do some positive improvements in these areas, definitely this will be our advantage for the future. I don't want to say that this will be a big opportunity. We'll reach to 5 million in a year time. I don't want to say that, because everything will start step by step. And most of the people, as with many kind of research, most of the people say that before September, they are not planning any holiday because everybody is in wait and see position. I gave you the numbers for June flights, but we have, let's say, if you go to July, if things go as we wish and as we all wish it to happen, then in July, there will be an increase of around 5 times in the number of flights. Everybody wants to see what will happen first. Then we'll definitely have a step-by-step increasing plans. For tourism sector also in Nepal, I mean, quality standards are very important, as we all discussed. And from my side, definitely the airport, the service sector in the airport is very important, the quality of that. One of the important things for us, because we see Nepal as a tourism destination, and from the day one, Turkish Airlines is trying to promote Nepal as a tourism destination. It's not a labor destination for us. So if you come from long haul and if you see the destination as a tourism destination, it is not easy to start when all the costs are very high. It is not easy to start to fly. I mean, that is why, I mean, in our June plans, we never think about flying to Nepal in our June flights. We know it will take time, but definitely the other issues are also coming in front of us. Okay, we see the costs. Okay, let's start from the less costly places so that we can at least, because you know, around 2-3 months in aviation sector, tourism sector, nobody made any money, and your stocks can help you to survive for a while. And when you start something, definitely you will plan to start from the less costly places. I have to highlight that area. I mean, cost in aviation in Nepal, especially for long hauls. I know we are not waiting long hauls at the beginning, but when we say long hauls, we are talking about Europe, for example. I mean, looks like long haul, but we are talking about Europe only. And you know, there are many Nepalis living there, and also definitely many Nepalis are going there, and most of the tourists also are coming from that area. Of course, Asia side itself is a big market. India and China is there, but you know, it depends on their conditions. We have to discuss also, let's say, will China allow their people to travel to Nepal? We have to convince them with safety standards. Will Nepal allow them also to come? Will these kinds of decisions has to be taken at this period of time? How will we allow people to come our country, for example, if the flight starts at June or July, let's say? So how will the people come to our, how will we allow them? So do we have enough visa facilities, online visas? We all need to improve all these areas if we are not going to give them door visa when they come? So what kind of things we are looking for? Will they have a COVID report when they enter? For example, Austria said that whoever comes has to either have a COVID report in last 4 days, or they have to have a COVID test as soon as they land to our airport, they say. And you have to pay, for example, 190 euro for that COVID test, they say. So people are discussing, as you know, just quick, I will finish in 1 minute. So people are discussing also kind of COVID passports for traveling, maybe, or let's say COVID-free stamps, maybe in their travel. So what is Nepal looking for also is important to start one point. And since all industry friends and all friends of Nepal are here, I think we should see this as an opportunity to improve the services, which we know that there are lacks. There are some good services, definitely. Hospitality, the mindset, welcoming, they are all wonderful in Nepal. You cannot find it anywhere else in the world, maybe. But what should we improve? And we should make a list of them and start doing something. Thank you very much. Hopefully I finished on time. Huh?
That's lovely. Thank you so much. Very thoughtful contribution. And it's interesting that you have raised issues of planning and training and, of course, services.
Yeah, definitely.
And now I will, of course, invite Bijay to do his presentation. And over to you, Bijay.
Well, those who have just joined now, I'm Bijay Amatya from Kora, CEO of Kora Tours, based in Kathmandu. Well, my earlier spoke, Dr. Hillman, Mr. Joshi, Mr. Abdullah has already covered a lot of things. I'm limiting myself to what a destination management company is contributing to rebuilding tourism in Nepal now at this situation. When government decided to lock down nationwide, the first thing which we all did is communicating with our FTOs, telling them the exact situation of the coronavirus and all the clients, where are they? So that was the first thing we all did. Later, some of them, they had gone to trekking, they came back, so we had to put them in a different kind of hotels. Even today, there are almost 2,000 people still staying in Nepal. They have not gone back. So we, from our side, try to send a message to our FTOs, try to coordinate with the airlines to do the repatriation. Nepal Tourism Board was a great help. They managed a lot of things, all these operation things, ground arrangement. So we came and helped them. And then we realized that now is the time we have to change from competition to collaboration. So we thought that all the stakeholders, we're going to collaborate among ourselves and support. And one collaboration now we recently did is trying to help Nepal Tourism Board to come out with making a hygiene, health, safety protocol, which hopefully will have within 2 weeks' time, or maybe earlier. So that's what we have done. Then we decided that we cannot sit back and we need now to start a slogan. So we started a slogan with a tagline like dream now, visit or travel later. So there are a few things. We did this dream now, travel later. So this is what we did, dream now, travel later. We're putting in all social medias and on the Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, Pinterest. Then after a while, we realized we need to bring something in. So we decided to bring in this one, which was Nepal Dream Now Visit, which like a logo. To help me out, one of our friends, Mr. Raj Joshi, he joined in. So we decided that we would let this logo be used by all our stakeholders, all our friends. It's not only for us, it's for everyone. So we started giving them, all of them, dresses. Then we came out with this, like this, Dream Now, Check Later. There you go. What later we realized Nepal as a destination has three important assets, and they are our natural beauty, rich cultural heritage, and above all, the friendly and smiling people. Once you visit Nepal, you'll realize Nepali people are very friendly. They smile all the time. A lot of people, they came. So to endorse this friendliness, we had this one here. When Prince Harry came, after earthquake, this was his expression, his feelings. And this is what Nepal is known for. Nepalese people are very friendly, smiling all the time, very emotional, very sentimental, with a lot of dreams. To carry this forward, we decided that now we need to make a video so that everyone could use it, send it to their FTOs, to their clients. So we came out with a new video called Dream Now, Travel Later. And here is the video.
It is a very moving video, Bijay.
So we have made this video now in different languages, in German, in French, in Chinese, in Arabic as well. Now we'll be making in Japanese and Italian. And let everyone use it. So we have uploaded it on the YouTube, so everyone could use it. So we don't want, this is what we're doing as a destination management companies in the country.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you very much. That's very interesting. Very, very interesting, Bijay. Very thoughtful contribution as well. And now our last speaker is Mr. Samir Thapa. Over to you, Samir.
Thank you, Eugenia, and great insights from all the previous speakers, really well spoken. My presentation is slightly different in terms of the perspective of tourist behavior and what are the dynamics of trainings in the education part of hospitality will be coming into this part. So I'm just, give me a second, I would like to share my screen here. So I am visible?
Yes, you are.
Yes, okay. Basically, I have taken this subject into the rebuilding tourism case study in service. The subject is basically challenges and opportunity in hospitality and tourism in terms of changes in the tourist behavior.
Samir, sorry to interrupt. Can we have a full screen of your PowerPoint presentation?
Oh, I have done a full screen over here. It's coming full screen in my laptop.
Not to worry.
Is it okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, thank you. As you know, like my dear friend Abdullah has also mentioned it very clearly that what are the parts of educational institutes and the tourism operator, what we have to think is the point of view from the tourists who will be traveling from different parts of the world now onwards. The tourists will be majorly choosing the destinations as per their health and safety standards. They choose the places where the locations, the destinations, the traveling, the airlines, arrivals at the airport, everything, what it has got the standards and the considerations of maximum for the health and sanitations on the travel. In this journey, social distance keeps a key role of how they will be enhancing themselves to practice this social distance, as well as they expect from the operators, they expect from the airports, airlines, authorities, and everyone. This is very, very crucial for every tourist who travels anytime, anywhere in the world. So the destination will be choose upon these measures, what are the measures taken in that particular locations and particular transportations and particular accommodations providers. So the major effect we will see on this regards, the changes of behavior will be directly hitting on the budget airlines, Airbnb, public transportations, until unless the government will or the operator will come up with a very solid, convincing practice in these kind of areas, then only tourists will be very much likely to travel. On the other hand, they will be also thinking about what are the healthcare system applies in those locations. I'm talking about the locations so you can relate with the Nepal as always. So I'm generally talking about over here in the entire locations, which includes Nepal as well. Another thing is the insurance of international health scenario will play a major role, because people will not take a chance to travel to any places, either that's a tourist or that's a corporate travel, that's a leisure travel. as a religious traveler, whatever, they will first think about what are the insurance that will be covered during their traveling in that particular destinations. The food habit will be changing drastically. Lots of food chains, food production units has to convert and come into the practice of various different norms of standards of sanitizations and the hygiene issues. Visible cooking concept will be highly acceptable now. Now people prefer for that, like what are the things, how the food is being cooked inside the restaurants or inside the hotel. They want to see from their own eyes. People definitely go for cooked food rather than the raw food when they will be traveling. And you have already seen that lots of like home deliveries will be chosen, and it has been practiced right now in the different parts of the world already. And tourists will be definitely reconsider the place where there are lots of crowds, there are lots of movement of people who has been, coming into the everyday scenario, like the historic monuments, the UNESCO World Heritage Sites, theme parks, and other things. So, so these are the behavior changes in terms of tourists. So what are the dynamics which brings the changes in the tourism and hospitality industry? You know, we can promote any destinations. We can promote our any kind of products in Nepal. We can promote our anything from the mountain to the tarai, to the jungle, to the nature, to the religion, to the culture, anything. But are we going to practice on these things in terms of giving the trainings to entire our industry? This is very much important. From the policymaker to the operator, they have to accept these kind of trainings and the practice into the system to attract the tourist in their premises. The first thing is the social distancing. How are you going to maintain the social distancing in between the guest and the staff? Then the whole property has to be sanitized. Everything which enters into the property needs to be sanitized, including the guest luggage, food, the beverage, any kind of other laundry service. All things has to be taken into the consideration of applying the various kind of measures to make sure that these are sanitized, these are not hazardous, these are not has got no infections at all. So these things, every hotel, every airlines, every tour operators, travel operators, like trekking operators has to think about this and bring it to the practice. Also, like for example, cleaning the housekeeping, the room or public area, the housekeeping staff now need to have a well-trained on these regards. They need to have a well-equipped things to perform their job, to make sure that everything is sanitized and everything is clean in the room. There is no even second chance we can take in that, but any area of the property. This is very, very important. Another thing is like, there's another major challenge is what we see is exactly on when the arrival of tourists, taking them to the different tours, transporting from one place to another place in terms of from the airport, from the aircraft to the airport to the hotel to the sightseeing destinations, wherever they go. So I have just shared a few things which I've already started in the few different countries that they have really come up with the good ideas of sealing every rows of seat, that they are taking the measures of every tourist who is sitting inside the transportations, any kind of transportations, they are well, structured and well sanitized and well taken all the precautions. So these are the things, which we have to now think about this. Another thing is most of the sightseeing areas will have a restrictions. There will be avoiding of meals. So the hotel or the operator has to provide all these meals to the destinations. And that is also another huge cost involvement over there. So Another thing is like when you are taking our guests to the various destinations, the travel time now will be increased because there will be the limitations on number of tourists inside the transportation, limitations of number of tourists in the particular site to see or visit, but limitation on the visit on that particular places or monuments. These restrictions will come in the time. So our industry is the industry ready to take that all the expenses and do the practice as per different norms and policies which will be coming right now. Like in Nepal also till today, like, you know, the pass has been given to the different vehicles, but the police are really checking, like they are not letting like more than 2 or 3 people can sit in the one vehicle. This is like, this kind of things will come definitely into the practice of tourism industry. Another thing is the dynamics of training and development and the educating your own staff will be changed drastically. Now it is a high time that you have to think about multi-skilling your staff and making them user-friendly. Especially in our part of the world, especially in South Asia, technology has been very much avoided in terms of using in the different tasks performed by the employees in our hotels, travels, airlines, and other places. So these are the training. I mean, the training has to be implemented in a very effective way so that we maintain the standard and we maintain the procedures of receiving and departing our guest. Another thing is a digitization of all the tasks so that all staff must be properly trained. So now the property has to go for a digitization. This is one of the biggest investment for all operators, like all hotels, all airlines need to do that. Another thing is how we're going to train our employees in terms of sustainable strategic approach, because this is the first time probably all of us has seen this pandemic and we have no idea till now. We are talking, we are doing so many brainstorming, we are participating in so many webinars, and we are getting lots of reports from all different organizations, but we have no clue what we're going to do that in our business. As we just spoke, all my previous speakers has also mentioned that the situation is unpredictable. So how are we going to train our own employees that how the strategy should be sustainable approach in terms of this pandemic, in terms of this natural catastrophe, in terms of this terrorist attacks and other things. This is very, very important for all organizations to invest your training part for the sustainable approach. The managerial staff has to be trained in how to manage the crisis like this one. Because I have seen in lots of organizations, lots of like airlines, hotels has been shut down permanently because most of the reports says that their high level organizational heads have no idea how cope with this situation, single penny and getting the situation into bankrupt. This is how we have to prepare our staff. And definitely lots of training required for motivation and teamwork for your employee nowadays onwards. Also, there is another huge challenges on giving a training to our suppliers and vendors. They must be equally trained and equipped in terms of handling our products which enters in our premises. But this could be one of the good CSR for all of us. I mean, to practice. We can give a good training to our all suppliers and vendors, every kind of suppliers and vendors, how to handle our product. So the another one is, this is a very, very, challenging time for us to retain our staff. As we have seen, the tourism industry, the travel industry, will fall by 80%, that we have seen on the UN WTO report also. So now what will happen? There are lots of job loss, which has already been taking place in the world, but there are the people who are still with us, and especially the career-oriented young graduates or young minds which have just started their career in last 5 years in this industry. They will definitely think that what we're going to do next in this industry, shall we change the industry and go ahead with other industry and start another career? So this will face huge, deficiencies in terms of providing service, in terms of providing products and maintaining our standards in the days to come. So definitely we have to give lots of training in terms of diversification of our market, our product and our service as per the changes in the guest behavior. We don't know like how guests gonna react in the days to come. But after the things gets open, after tourists started coming to our home, we will be slowly coming to know that how the things has to be handled. That all will be the learning process. So before the tourist comes in our premises, we make sure that we teach our employees how to diversify market, how to diversify our product and service so that we are matching the expectations of the guest behavior. Another thing is the promoters really need to invest huge amount of money in the market intelligence system. As I told already, digital transformation is very, very required, especially in the South Asia. There will be definitely huge digital transformation comes into the pictures in the tourism and hospitality industry in next 2 years of time. That will be the one of the foundation for survival of all of us. And lots of simulations practice need to be done because there are lots of things which we have not seen and we have not doing any trainings that will come into the pictures to serve better to the tourist. And another thing is keeping the morale of the employees. That is another thing we have to really think about that. So as I told you already, like chances of switching jobs is very much highly possible in our industry. Another thing is we have to do lots of trainings of motivations to our staff and make sure that the company do care for them and their family. This is very, very important for right now because lots of people will go for the depressions right now. My last report we have seen in Nepal that 494 suicide cases happened in the country after lockdown in Nepal. It was shocking for everyone, you know that. So these are the things we have to take care, not only business, because these are the surrounding things we have to take care. But I'll definitely come to the opportunity part. I always see there's a silver line on every crisis. So as an entrepreneur, we have to think about what are our opportunities. As Deepak ji has already said, that 90% of the feedback which has come to us right now will be the nature-based tourism will be the first choice for the tourists. We are blessed with that. Our business, 90% of our business in this country is connected with the nature and ecology. So we have a better opportunities than proper downtown city hotels and the theme resorts. As I told you, people will think twice to go to theme parks, theme resorts, water parks and other things in next 1 or 2 year time. But for us, we can always sell with our natures, our sceneries and other things. Also, we can maintain this. We have a very, light burden to maintain a social distance and to manage the property in comparison to the guests in the big cities and the big hotels. Because in the natures, you can have an ample space of maintaining your social distances and keeping the people. Another thing is interaction with the outside guests, outside people, the outside local people will be less than if he goes to the big dense cities in the world. So staff have got also opportunity to be more multi-skilled than those employees who will be in the cities. So this is one of the motivation factors once we start all these kind of activities for our staff. As I told you, like our product is different and various from other. We can also have our own selling point by keeping our health norms on higher standards. Because if you see the cities and if you compare the cities and the villages of Nepal, there's a very drastic, I mean, norms in terms of health, pollutions, and other things. So we can always think of taking the best areas of, pollutions, best areas of how the health issues will be taken care, and especially in the natures and other things. This is the right time we can sell our product. And lots of this is a high time also, as a educators, as a training providers, I would also recommend all our properties, eco properties, operators to use a maximum number of interns. This is the right time because it saves lots of cost for you guys. And another thing is, this is the right time for us to promote our local food, because most of our foods are not with the chemicals, very, very organic, so it is a high time for our chef, our operators to provide a normal foods. We don't have to bring, I have just written that we don't have to bring a salmon or, a foie gras from France or something like that for the guests nowadays. Now you give your proper food, local food, and start your promoting your local cuisine to the international guest. So these are, I think, the opportunities I would see from my point of view. Finally, I would like to conclude my session by telling that finally we will survive by adapting ourselves to the changes in behavior of tourists and their demands. That is the only way we can survive in the world, in this world. So as Deepak ji has also told us that one thing I would like to say, that we don't have a death till now. The COVID effect is not that much hampering on us, like in other countries. So Nepalese people have a belief that we have more strength of coping with the COVID. So all these things will be good for doing our marketing, but at the end, we have to adapt ourselves as per the behavior of the tourists. That's the only reason we will survive. I have just here one picture of the Hilton has recently issued this picture, 10 high-touch, deep clean areas in the guest room. So now you can imagine that what kind of trainings and education required for our employees. Thank you so much. Hope it is understandable for everyone. Thanks.
Thank you, Samir. Wonderful presentation. Very interesting that you raised some issues to do with training and education, which are still needed in Nepal. Now is a question and answer session. So let me check to see how many questions we've got. Okay. We have got here a question for Wendy. Hi, Wendy. This question is from Dr. Vanessa from Nigeria.
Yes.
And of course, Vanessa, GB is known, is one of our keynote speakers at the conference that was postponed. Yes. Yeah. And so hopefully next year, you will be able to meet her.
That would be lovely.
According to Wendy, what unique marketing strategies Nepal may adopt to differentiate it from others?
Hi, Vanessa, and thank you for your question. Thank you, Eugenia. And I do look forward to meeting you next year, Vanessa, hopefully. I have done some training with women in Jumla and Jumla Kanali zone, and so in Jumla and in Gamgadi in far western northwestern Nepal, and we talked about marketing their products like homestay or cottage industry products, things they made themselves for tourists. And they said, oh, we have a homestay now. And we said, oh, well, how do you advertise? Oh, nobody has come to see us. The thing I think with Nepali tourism, especially in the remoter areas, is people need to know that these things exist. So you need signage. You need a sign on the side of the road. Passing trekkers in groups in a bus or something might see that and go, let's stay here. We've travelled enough today, let's stay here. We also suggested that they, this is with my colleague, Dr. Kylie Riddell from my university, CQ University Australia, and she actually works in marketing and tourism, even though I'm a sociologist. We also said, do you know Facebook? They said, yes, we know Facebook. So we said, get your son, daughter, niece, nephew to help you do a Facebook page. But it's not enough to have the Facebook page. You have to actually monitor it and use it. And if your phone rings and you don't know who the number is, answer your phone. It might be someone wanting to buy your product or stay at your homestay. It's not about, I know this is talking small picture rather than macro, but it's not about just opening a homestay in your house and expecting people to come. They cannot come if they don't know you exist. So you can't get even passing trade if you don't have a sign on the road pointing to your homestay or your small cafe or your weaving business or anything like that. So I also think that's important. I also think people need to be on Twitter and Instagram and WhatsApp and Snapchat, those things, if they think those last two things are relevant. Certainly Twitter, Facebook and Instagram are relevant for tourism opportunities. I also think that perhaps, and I don't know if NTB does this or not, but have a reciprocal arrangement like with Tourism Australia. Send them that video that you have. Send them that video and get them to send you one of theirs, and like have reciprocal arrangements with even if you're putting it out on YouTube, have reciprocal arrangements for that so that it's getting out to people in Australia and other countries. It doesn't have to just be Tourism Australia, it can be the tourism board in other countries. And likewise, they will have your things that they can put on theirs or make some reciprocal arrangement. I think the bottom line for all that is, I don't say you have to be nasty or vicious, but just be more aggressive, have a bit more of an aggressive approach in your marketing strategies. I think that's the main point I'm trying to make.
Thank you, Wendy. And our second question is for Deepak. What should be included in the survival package for tourism in Nepal? What should be included?
I think, Virginia, right now, it is, for all over the world, saving the ship is the most important thing during this corona pandemic. And at the same time, I would like to highlight, in the past, in many occasions, we used to call blessing in disguise. And this time we may know this situation as blessing with threats. So with this threat, what kind of blessings is bringing? I mean, what kind of opportunities there are? We need to focus more on that. Regarding the revival, I think we have to have two mindsets equally. One is focus on saving the ship, I mean the whatever we have to survive. And then second is exploring the new opportunities that can lead us in post-corona era. So in these two strategies, we can work more. For example, in Nepal, I think new business opportunities will definitely be there in tourism packages like the transformative tourism, yoga, meditation, spa, nature-based activities, the food that enhance our immune. These kind of business opportunities are definitely there more. So we have to be prepared for that.
Thank you, Deepak. And our next question is for Bijay. Bijay, you just talked about the collaboration, not competition. How realistic does it seem for Nepali travel and trekking companies to merge and operate with synergistic effect. Do you think it is possible? This is from Ajay Shrestha. Sorry, we can't hear you. Bijay, you have to have your microphone on. Yes, we can hear you now.
Anyway,
yeah.
Well, this is something we need to explore. It hasn't happened yet, but this is what I believe now when we have this, crisis. We must collaborate, among ourselves to move forwards. Only competing is not going to help. We have to explore whether we'll be able to merge, we'll be able to cooperate each other instead of competing all the time. And there are many areas where we could collaborate. We don't have to compete all the time. It's possible, but we need to give it a chance. We need to try it.
Thank you. And I have got a question for you, Abdullah. Abdullah, could you please put your microphone on?
Yes, I can hear you.
When do you think the airport in Kathmandu will resume international flights?
Okay, for now, looks 31st of May is the last day for extension period. It can be extended. As I said, it's a very unpredictable period for everyone. And since the cases in Nepal started a little bit increasing in the last few days, there may be decisions accordingly. But I would like to highlight one point. Here, the main issue for Nepal is the migrant workers coming back from outside the Nepal. I think that area should be managed very well. As soon as they find a way to manage that, I think the flights will be resumed, because we are talking about very high numbers. And as I know, most of them are from South Nepal. Most of the people come from South Nepal. So after they come to Kathmandu, how will they go to their villages? Will they stay 1 or 2 days in Kathmandu, and will they go then? Will they be under quarantine? As soon as the solution is found for this, I think flights will be resumed, because as you know, Nepal is closed for even Nepalese now. So I think it will be government's decision accordingly. We are waiting for that. Thank you.
Thank you, Abdullah. And our next question comes from Dr. Hayley Stainton from UK. And this is for Samir, for you, Samir. Do you think that Nepal will set up reciprocal agreements for tourism with nearby countries, for instance, China, prior to the border being open to all? How might this work? You have to have your microphone. Your microphone is off.
Yeah, sorry. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Sorry.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much. A very good question. Thank you so much. Basically, both borders had been sealed right now. In terms of what my presentation has been indicating more on those who are coming as a tourist, but definitely, as you said, like the borders are open from both sides. There are lots of movements coming from the both sides. So initially, the policies of the government has to be come into the actions of how we're gonna do such kind of practicing. Once the practice norms are formed, then we can go for trainings and educating on that part from our end. That's how the operators will be also following the norms and letting it come into the actions. But definitely, two sides borders people will be not 100% tourists. There will be like the corporate, there will be the visitors, there will be the traders as well. So the policies has to be suitable for everyone, and different operators will act into their responsible part, and then we as an educator go into whatever is required from the operators and the travelers' point of view.
Thank you, Samir. And our next question is for Deepak. And this is from Rupesh Shrestha. What will be the new normal for the industry, and what packages can be provided by the Nepali government for the different tourism sectors?
I think the new situation will be, we have to be habituated with the new safety protocols that, the disinfection, a kind of sanitizing, a kind of social distancing, these kind of things will be definitely we have to go through. And eventually we will be habituated with these kind of practices. And then regarding, the what kind of packages from government side or from the industry side, we are looking for, or we are advocating for years. Number one, we have to be, ready for to give a kind of some incentive to airlines to connect, because after the COVID-19, the transportation, especially the air cost, will be much higher. So to bring it down, we have to be very serious, giving them incentives or some kind of discounts or facilities at the airport. This is one thing. Second is obviously always the industry, I mean the tour operators in the source market are key players. So we have to think of some kind of incentivizing to those players also. And then third is within the country, we have to promote more collaboration, as Bijay Dai and other speakers also mentioned, because especially after the crisis, cooperation is the most important thing. Synergizing, have to create a platform where everybody can synergize their effort so that we can bounce back quicker. And this is the third thing. And fourth thing is, after every crisis, the many new opportunities are come there. So we have to be able to reap that benefit that the crisis brings as an opportunity. So these are the 4-5 things I would like to say.
Thank you, Deepak. And now our next question is for Wendy. Wendy, this is from Reza Bahadori. What do you think Nepal's strategy should be for reviving and rebuilding accommodation sector?
I have to agree with what Samir was saying before about how people need to be trained in cleaning of all the rooms. There'll have to be some sort of regime whereby the luggage and the suitcases, everything will have to be cleaned. Likewise, the inside of the cars. I think it's a big task, a huge task, like Samir was saying. But I also think with regards to the inside of accommodation places like hotels or guest houses or even homestays, that perhaps maybe there could be some, it's a big ask for everybody, I know, on-site training about hygiene and keeping things clean, and maybe people could be issued with a certificate to say that they have done this training. I'm not sure by whom, whether it be the tourism board or whether it be by like a health, some sort of local health authority. But I can say that I have stayed at a homestay near Tuncer airport for 2 nights because our plane was delayed by 1 day. And that was probably the cleanest homestay I've ever stayed in. Very remote, but beautifully clean. That everything smelt clean. The blankets, the sheets, everything smelt clean. It was lovely to stay there. And I actually said that to the lady, even her cooking. And it was quite obvious that she had these skills because the children came inside to play when it was time to eat their dinner. And the first thing they did, she didn't say anything. They went to the tap and they washed their hands. So it just those little things like that I witnessed as a tourist in her homestay, I think they're the telling signs for the tourists. If the tourists see people washing their hands or see the people who live at the homestay or at the or work at the hotel washing their hands or using the sanitizer or doing things that look like there's extra special care with the cleaning, I think that would be really helpful.
Thank you, Wendy. Okay, the next question is for you, Abdullah. Do you think that the short-term and maybe the long-term effects of COVID-19 is a more expensive flight experience due to the cost of keeping people safe?
Yeah, definitely for maintaining high standards, there will be some additional costs. So airlines is also measuring from their side what amount will be bearable for airlines itself and for the passengers also. I mean, definitely it will be optimized and will be a solution. That's why that, as I said, that empty seat issues and other issues are a little bit is not accepted by the industry itself, because 50% increase in flights, nobody can bear easily, and passengers also cannot do that. So it will hit the tourism sector for the second hit will be that one. If the flight costs go very high, it will be the second in tourism sector. That's so I appreciate that Mr. Joshi also highlighted that some kind of incentives, governmental support, instead of increasing their travel cost, increasing their let's say expenses in the country, should be more prioritized, and we have to give services accordingly, I think, in the country. So airlines will manage that for the sake of the industry, for sure. But there will be some additional costs, as I can see.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, I've got our last question now, and this is for all of you. Nepal is undoubtedly known as one of the world leaders in mountain tourism. Would you be able to share any measures that will likely to be in place in relation to managing this form of tourism when the country reopens to international visitors, to international tourists? And this comes from Okamoto, the Associate Lecturer in Tourism and Events at Murdoch University in Australia. Okay, can I start with you, Samir?
Thank you so much. Yes, the dynamics of the sectors of the tourism industry will be definitely changed. We have to work on the sector to sectors rather than taking entire tourism industry in a holistic approach now. So the market segment will be definitely changes for operators and the stakeholders. This is very, very important. Our pride, our feather on the hat is always a mountain tourism in our entire tourism. That's how we are known in the world in the front decks. So this whole sector has to be put it in a one different scenario as per its structures, as per the people who are working in these sectors, and as per the operators and the promoters of these sectors. They all have to come together, segregate it with from rest of the sectors, and develop policies and push the government to come up with the structures, policies, and the procedures and the practice very differently than other sectors. Because the thing is, we have a huge challenges in this segment. If the pandemic outbreak in this region is very, very tough to control, because we don't have that kind of health system up there. We don't have a transportations which can access to every point over there. We do have a routes. The route has to be controlled, examined, and properly structured with the trained manpower, and the screening process for the guest has to be done before they come into this whole region. This has to be taken in a very topmost priority than other tourism sector. That's what I believe.
Thank you, Samir. Can I ask Bijay?
Yeah, as Samir is saying, it's when we open up this mountain tourism, which is like a pride in Nepal, it has to be restricted. We cannot open for everyone. It needs to be guided by certain principle. People needs to be very careful, as well as the supplier. Both of them, they need to be very, very careful what they're going for it. So I personally believe that it will be better for us that the government comes out with a certain policy and open up slowly in a restricted manner. Definitely not forgetting sustainability and responsibility.
Thank you, Bijay. And now, Wendy.
I don't know that I've got that much more to add to that.
We have all seen the pictures of mountains that are huge.
Yeah, I don't know that I've got.
Isn't it overcrowding, or some they call it over tourism?
Yes, over tourism, and also the amount of plastic that's left, particularly on, well, I know probably on Annapurna as well, but I know on Everest Base Camp Trek because I've been on that. Yeah, I think smaller numbers might be. I'm agreeing with Bijay and Samir. I think smaller numbers and more eco-friendly type tourism, particularly in the mountains. It's not, I don't think it'll be as drastic for more local tourism like to Bhaktapur or Basantapur, Durbar Square, all the Durbar Squares, or to Boulder or Kopang or any of those places. I think that's kind of fairly okay, but the numbers will be smaller. Yeah, I think it'll be more I think it should be more eco-based.
More sustainable.
More eco-friendly and limited numbers, you know, maybe, well, my trekking group was only 5 people to go to Everest Base Camp, and that was perfect, really. 10 might be a good number as well, but there were huge groups as well. So I think the smaller and more specialised.
So limiting
the way. Yeah.
Okay, Deepak, that's for you. This question now.
Mountain and mountain tourism is Nepal's identity, obviously. So because of 3-4 reasons, I think the mountain tourism will have a brighter future in the days to come. Number one is, you know, the Nepal has from 60 meters to 8,848 meter landscape. Above 2,000 meter, our landmass is 80%, and then above 2,000 meter, there is no single, you know, the COVID case so far. So I think this is one reason. And above in mountain region, they are known as the area for pure air, for organic food, and authentic culture. And third reason is, you know, in mountain areas, the social distancing is not choice, but by compulsion because of high altitude. You have to walk slow and that kind of thing. So I think obviously mountain tourism is our future. And then we are quite hopeful that that's why Nepal will bounce back quicker.
Thank you, Deepak. And Abdullah, the last, if you can answer that question as well.
Yes, of course. Yes, of course. What I can see now for the first measurements now, none of the countries will allow tour groups, outbound tour groups, to be more than 10 people, as we see in the industry. So that is definitely okay with the mountain tour groups. So I think I always prefer to say Nepal is more than mountains, but for now, I think mountain sides will be there. But definitely yoga and meditation, facing the mountain, eco-tourism, let's say even agricultural tourism maybe, because people will like to touch the ground also, but facing the mountain definitely. So those kinds of different tourism areas can be there, as I can see. So Nepal has some advantage. We have to use it. Just I want to highlight that again. Thank you.
Thank you, Abdullah. Okay, and here, before closing, I would like to thank all of you for joining us today. It's been really a brilliant, webinar with your fantastic contributions. So I would like also to thank all of you, all the attendees, for joining us today. I hope that you have enjoyed this webinar as much as you have enjoyed having it. The 6th webinar will take place next Friday. We'll send out details shortly. And thank you very much once again to Wendy, Deepak, Abdullah, Bijay, and Samir. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Namaste.
Namaste. Thank you.
Namaste.
Thank you.
Stay
Thank you.
safe and see you
Stay
next
safe.
week. Bye for now. Namaste.
Bye.
Bye.